This video is made possible by the support of Grim Dark Terrain, our generous Patreons at Team Titanicorn, and kindly viewers like you.
So greetings my fellow princeps and moderati. I am Dizzy from Team Titanicorn, and today I want to talk about hosting an Adeptus Titanicus event. There are two parts of events, the competitive and the narrative. In my opinion, there is also something in between the competitive narration or the narrative competition, but I want to get a view on these both extremes to get a better understanding on what I mean. In preparation for this video, I got here a little question catalog on the themes that I wanna discuss today, and if you wanna get involved in the discussion, you can go down in the comment section below and write down any ideas or guidance you wanna give. So let us start with my personal experience. I've went to many events as a guest, and I and my team hosted some events. So there are laid-back gaming events of several gaming systems. There is the kind of tournament scene with Adeptus Titanicus where I visited, and I've got the opportunity on large events like the Spiel 2018, translated into Spiel 2018 in the city Essen in Germany. And I was with Kraken Wargames at their booth and presented their scenery pieces that they are working on at that time. And so I got from very small, very family affair gaming events to these great big merchandise and consumer events. So I think I got a tiny insight in what is very important from both sides of the spectrum. So let us start with the first question, and this depends. Is there a player base? This is the first thing if you want to host an event. Nevertheless, it's competitive or narrative. Is there a player base for your gaming system in your hometown or in the neighboring towns that want to participate in this event? And if there are some players, it is good. If there are no players, it is very important to keep in mind in which radius around your hometown or maybe the location's town you want to attract people. Is it around 50 kilometers? Is it 100? Is it even more, 500? Is it 1,000 miles? Is it worldwide or whatever radius you want to pick your players from? Is there a player base for your gaming system? If you play some oddball gaming system where there is no players, there is no reason to get an event running. But as I know, Adeptus Titanicus got some players also in Germany where I am located. And so it is good to know this. We don't get the biggest community here, but for events between 10 and 20 people, there is always the possibility. After you checked your player base, there is the question of the location. Where do I want to host my event or our event if I speak from the viewpoint of a team member from Team Titanicorn. So there are several possibilities. There is your friendly local game store where you can host events. Most of the game store owners say, okay, we got a weekend, and if you want to get your event done here, it is publicity for us, so it's good. Then there is the possibility of something like a big garden with a hut, or a gardening community with a community hub that they can give you for the gaming table area. Or there is something like maybe a restaurant, or maybe the church's community hub center where you can rent some rooms for your event. And then you need to keep in mind that there are some costs. Could you or your team get around the costs, or is it that much that you might give it to the participants of the event and charge a small entry fee for this? And then there is the thing, if you maybe work together with the church or the community center of a local church, there is sometimes this curious problem of this miniature war gaming, and the church says, wait, love all people, war is bad. And then you got on the bad foot and must say this is a war game. But most churches I know, or the church communities, are cool if you can explain them, okay, it is a competitive game, and it's like even chess is a war game if you want to call it like this, and we play on a very friendly basis. This and that are the basics, the stories and stuff like this. The most church communities say, okay, this is a nice game for a community, you can rent our rooms. In my opinion, churches got the biggest rooms so far as I can recall around this area where I live, and it is very nice if you want to get an event from 30 people up. I myself got an yearly fan base YouTube channel meeting thingy, the Discon, and we are around 50 to 60 people, and I got a big room where I can fit approximately 18 gaming tables, and there is enough room to walk around. It's very big. It cost me a hefty amount of money, but it's okay for this size of a room. And there is the toilet area, and there is a kitchen area that I can use. So it is a big package. And if we could boost the German tournament, or better to say Adeptus Titanicus event scene, to such high amount of players, I want to rent this location for Adeptus Titanicus events also. So there is the question, are there players that they want to play your game, and on which location you want to play? The other thing that to be considered when you talk about location is the event's length. And if it's just some hours or a day, or is it 2 days, 3 days, or maybe up to the insanity of a full week, you have to keep in mind where your players could stay at night. Could they stay at a friend's houses, at motels or hotels? Is there at your room another side room where you can provide them a sleeping area with sleeping bags and all this stuff? And if the event is longer, how do you want to feed your players? Is there the premise, okay, we got the location and we got the small entry fee for renting the place, but you need to bring your own drinks and eat? Or maybe you got some some collaboration with the local food delivery services, where you say, okay, we got an event and there are X amount of people and we order food from your location. Is it possible that we get a small discount, like 10 to 50%, 15% on our order, so you can give the players the opportunity to say, hey, this is the service and we got a discount, so we order the food there each day. Or maybe there's the possibility that you get a kind of catering for all these players, that you provide them with food on the location. Maybe your family helps out with cooking something, or you got a professional catering service. But keep in mind that these are additional costs that maybe are added to the entry fee for the event, so that you don't get a minus in your pocket at the end of the tournament. Then the third part is the most crucial part, I think. It is 3.1 and 3.2. It is competitive event or narrative event. As I said before, there is something of a narrated competitive event or a competitive narrative event, something in between, but I want to get a look at these both extremes. In my opinion, I'm more of a competitive player, so I lean more to this, but the narrative events could be a good thing to get a nice campaign laid-back event for players if you got enough loyal and traitor players, if you want to get on this road, or tell a story within this event. So let us look at the competitive at the second and start with the narrative event. So what do you need to keep in mind when you play a narrative event? Okay, there are points and there is the good split of players between traitors and loyalists, maybe in the best case, but other things that you need to keep in mind is how much narration does your games need? Is it more of a, okay guys, here are the loyalists, here are the traitors, this is the world on which we are fighting and go for it? Or is it something like, in front of every game, you get there and get an motivational speech of 5 to 6 minutes and declare everyone what is the main objective of this mission today, what are the circumstances, the conditions on the battlefield, what is the intel that these sides could gather from the other, and spies and all these things, and then release your forces to war. This is the question, what do you like more of these real high value narration, or more this, okay, this is a rough plot and now go? I think you could get somebody that's very creative to write down the narrative for your event, but you don't got anybody at hand that's really specialized in this kind of game telling. You rather stick to these, oh, this is a rough event, and go for it. And maybe the players give you some feedback and add to the narrative. This is the question on this part. And in this occasion, is this story that you try to tell something that benefits or manifests on the game table, or benefits the way the game is played? So maybe I planned a gaming series, a battle report series with Silent for a small campaign of 4 games, but maybe you already got it. Silent and Fluffy are kinda more on the private life first route now, cause there is their newborn small princess girl Ilvi, and I guess Silent needs to be more of this father role right now, and I'm in the search for another player that would get to the gaming table and the battle reports right now for the next month, where Silent is kind of occupied with his family right now. But we are still planning on this campaign thing. So this is a thing. Traitors are on both sides, and one traitor side gets a planetary assault on a other traitor's force. And there is the first game, the drop assault, kind of beach landing, where it is a battle where you get fortified position from the defenders and the attackers start from the board edge, but the attackers got the benefit of an additional orbital bombardment and or lance strike at the start of each gaming round, cause the strike cruisers above secured the orbit and pushed away the defending spacecraft, not aerial craft, spacecraft. And on the other hand, the defenders got the ability for something like a minefield, so these scatter mines and such things, additional to their regular stratagem points. So this could be the first mission on a heavily narrated game where you got some of the narration in game mechanics. The second thing would be a rather normal game on an open field, some clash in the backfields of the whole campaign thing. The third game should be a siege scenario where you got a hive city's outer defense wall, and you got these macro batteries on the defense wall in charge of the defender. So these additional battlefield assets, but on the other hand, maybe the attacker could secure some airfields in the second mission of the campaign and got additional strafing runs on these siege scenario. And in the last game, it is all-out war in the city with the additional war world condition where there is small arms and less cannon fighting in the city, where you can shoot at the end of each round on enemy titans. There are some additional things for these battle report series that I don't want to spoil here, but this is the kind of way where I think you can get a very straight, structured narrative campaign. Or, on the other hand, if you're really creative and want to go all out the narration, you can say, okay, we got the loyalist forces and we got the traitor forces. One of them is attacker, one of them is defender. And if the attacker wins the first scenario or the first gaming round, calculating all the gaming tables together, there are two possible outcomes. And if the defender wins, there are two other possible outcomes. And from there, it is like a spider web that get in all direction, and maybe you can get a campaign down something like this. Or even more insane, each gaming table plays for itself in regards to the campaign. So if the attacker on one table wins, the next game he got benefits, and the defender on this before played game table, he loses, he got more of a disadvantage in the next game. Something like this, and it works through all the gaming tables, and every player got its all benefit or its own deficit. So maybe something like this, or it could be kind of too much brainfuckery, so maybe go with the third option, with the first option, and in the first event series that you plan, where you got a very straight narrative, and then move on to these more spiderwebby thing. So this could be things for the narrative gameplay as I write down on my list. So let us go to the competitive gameplay, where are some points that all also apply for the narrative game playing. It is the first thing, is there a local meta at your gaming place or at the players' gaming groups? Is there something like before Games Workshop FAQ'd it, something like the Acastus Night spam? where you say, oh, Adeptus Knights are so creepy, they are so powerful, let's spam them on their gaming board. And I must say that was the worst thing that could have happened. Now we got the Adeptus Knight as the auxiliary banners, and they are very expensive, and there are only 2 in a banner. Yes, they are powerful, but this spam thing that happened is not that good, I thought. But the game changes that Games Workshop done with the auxiliary banner and the rules of this are good, and I think they was necessary. Yes. But maybe the meta on your group is, hey, let us play minimum requirement for a maniple, so a Lupica light maniple only with Warhound double Volcano Mega Bolter, so you got 600 points of your required maniple in the battle group, and the rest is auxiliary banners and auxiliary titans and stuff like this. Yes, could be difficult to get a good list for this, or it is like, let's go minimum maniple and then put down a War Master Heavy Battle Titan. If this is your meta, or the meta is more of let's play mostly big machines, Extergimus maniple, Fortis maniple, something like this, and blast the shit out of the opponent, cause there is very few or very low density of terrain, and we can use such big machines and blast away. Or the meta is, there is so much terrain on a table that you hardly can maneuver your machines. The players would arrange with this and get their own playstyle evolved. And if this happens, you maybe need to fix your gaming tables or the rules of your event. So it's maybe like, okay, we go with very few points to don't get the dangerous situation that a War Master Heavy Battle Titan is included in a game, cause he can screw everything up. Or it's maybe like, yes, we play with low amount of scenery, but the scenery is very high, so that these highly shooty lists have some more to do in the game than rather just stand and shoot. And if there is a meta, maybe you should work out where the game-breaking effect of this meta is, and work a bit against it with your event, or in this case, competitive tournament rules. Second thing to keep in mind, I said it before, the points value of your event. Do you prefer low points like 1,500, or do you want to go bonkers all out crazy with 300 and more points on your competitive event or your narrative event? Keep in mind that there are maybe more machines or bigger machines, but in all cases the games took longer. And this is the thing, do you want 2 games a day, do you want 3 games, 4 or even 5 games if you want to go a bit insane. The higher the points value, the longer the game takes, and the bigger the machine get that are on the table, and the more shooty the games could get. But this is the thing where it corresponds with the meta and playstyle of your participants in the tournament, competitive tournament thing. I prefer to go with 1,850 points. It is a good point if you want to play a warlord, but it is not necessary that you need big machines to counter enemy big machines, and can go with full-on light machines. Also, you get more machines, okay, but it is already the possibility to field 2 maniple and get more maniple bonus, and get 2 Princeps Senioris traits, and get more flavor to your personal list. But this depends on how well versed are you with the game and your player base. If there are many newcomers, maybe you go straight 1500 points and restrict everything to, okay, only one mana pool. That is not that complicated in all, and you can give the newcomers a better feel, even if there are some truly high versed veterans that got 600 plus games under their belt. So points value decides how long does a game take and what are the possible army compositions. Keep that in mind. The next thing, as I said, games. How many games do you want to play at your competitive tournament event? I think 3 is a good start for if you lose one game, it is not the end for you at this tournament that you go on the last places. You can get points in the next game, but I prefer 4 games more, but 4 games is the problem. How long does a game take? Under the best circumstances, I think it is a 2-game tournament event with 3 games each day, so 6 games at all, and there you can earn points. And if you lose 2 games at the first day, it is not the end of the tournament for you. And the more you play, the better your possibilities are to get a high ranking at this tournament. A game should not take more than 2 hours, I think. If I think about a rather one-day event, there are 3 games with 2 hours each. So you got 6 hours of total gaming time. Then you maybe got a lunch break, an hour. There are 7 hours. There are small breaks between the games when you need to calculate all the victory points and the which player plays against which one in the next game. If you want to go this Swiss system, the Schweizer System. So you need sometimes in between the games, and then at the end you need to calculate all the game points, which one is the winner of the competition. And if you want to get some prizes, some trophies, you need to maybe print out a honorary declaration, and you need time for this. So with 3 games of 2 hours, lunch break and all this, you got an event of roughly 8.5 or even 9 hours, and this is very long for the orga, for the event hosts. If you got 1 or 2 people that do this, if you got more, you can split the work, but I don't think it is very good for your mental health when you're hosting an event to get it longer than this, a kind of full work day. So keep that in mind. If you got a location like a gardening club with these community center thing, and you start at 9 o'clock in the morning and you want to play all the day, and maybe the players stay at this gardening thing in the end and sit around the fireplace, and you want to play to 11 or 12 p.m. You can go for 4 or 5 games this day, but I think you need to be mentally really fit. And if you are a newcomer in this game, and there are many newcomers as I've seen lately, it is very hard, a full game of full force playing. So keep that in mind in your role as the host and the orga team. So what is there anything else? Yes, many players got some rather cheesy things in their lists, and some of these cheesy things are a real game breaker. Maybe you think about some restriction for your games. So it is like when the game was in its infancy, you got the thing that there are cards for weapons, and there are people that 3D printed weapons, and there are people that build their own kit bash weapons that are not available from maybe Forge World. And when we hosted games, we only allowed the weapons that are possible to be achieved as physical products from the company. This doesn't mean that you can't use your 3D printed parts, but I don't want to give the players that don't got a 3D printer or aren't that good in conversions this problem that they can't use all the weapons, where other players that got 3D printers got the benefit of, hey, yes, the Macro Gatling Blaster on Warlord Battle Titans, awesome weapon, and I got a dual-wielding Macro Gatling Blaster, but oh, you don't got them, you only got the Bellicosa, oh, sorry, so shield weapon, something like this, or the Acastus Knight. This one was restricted before the FAQ. On our tournaments, so we said that on one occasion we said that the Acastus Knight can only be fielded by knightly households, because the knightly household needs the Acastus Knight's firepower and range to function properly. An Acastus Knight in the Titan battle group is kind of a overkill weapon, so we restricted this, and then G-Dubs came and said, no, wait, the Acastus Knight is auxiliary, and yada yada yada. Maybe it's something like a War Master Heavy Battle Titan is restricted, or the restriction is only one mana pull, or the restriction is only 2 mana pull, or you need to field a full mana pull to field the second one, something like this. This depends on the local meta and on the gamers and their cheesiness. How complicated do you want to get the list that been wrote for these games, or do you want it keeps simple so that there are some more restrictions? Another restriction, not dependent on the models but the stratagems, was that we restricted one stratagem per subgroup, so the ranged support and the battlefield assets and the warp trickery. Each of these subgroups, you can only choose one stratagem of each group, that there are not these combos with the scatterable mines and then the quake shells, where you force your enemy to move and he moves within the minefield that you laid before, so it is the damage from the quake shells and then additional the scatterable mines damage in the legs. This was before the FAQ and the scatter mines was nerfed down. Something like this. If this happens with new stratagems, maybe you could keep in mind to restrict the players from using them in these creepy ultra combos. Or if you say, okay, it is allowed in the game from the company, G-Dubs says, yes, this is a stratagem, it is allowed to be played like this, then you can say, okay, it is allowed, we go hardcore all in, please use it. This is the other way, restrict or enforce your player. Enforce. Provide your player the opportunity to play hardcore. So, this is competitive against narrative. You can decide which one is your cup of tea. So the next thing is, how long is the event? I told about it before. Do you want to go 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, whole campaign week? If you are that insane and find players that want to take part in this, keep in mind there needs a place to sleep for the players, there needs to be the possibility to feed all the players, and there is the thing that they need to keep their mental health, if you want to say so. So maybe you provide them an alternative thing to do than just play Adeptus Titanicus and just talk about Adeptus Titanicus. Maybe if you got a big location and you got 1 or 2 spare tables, set up an easy pickup game of 1 or 40,000 maybe. These last starting box with Necrons against Primaris Space Marines, if you can get your hands on this. Put this one on the table with all the gaming materials, some scenery, and say, okay, you can play Adeptus Titanicus, but if you are done with your game really fast, or don't want to eat lunch, or after the official part of the event, when we got all our 3 games done, and then this is talking and drinking booze thing on the tournament, you can play on this tables, or it can be something totally different than G-Dub's products. It could be X-Wing, or you can get a pen and paper round there. Maybe you want to play some Wrath and Glory pen and paper there with some of the players. Feel free to do it. I think it would be appreciated if there is some alternative things. Maybe it is a TV with Netflix, Amazon Prime, or whatever streaming service. It is a gaming console like an old school SNES, or maybe some of the newer things like PlayStation, Xbox and Switch and something like this, to get an alternative to playing Adeptus Titanicus on longer events, to keep your mental health and your insanity. Then let us check the rules of presentation, a good thing to talk about. Is there something that you want to restrict your players from bringing to your tournament or event? I'm more of the tournament guy, so sometimes I say tournament as an equal word for event, so keep that in mind. I'm sorry. Can anyone get their minis on the table, even if they are half built and maybe only bare gray plastic? Or do you prefer at least a colored primer or base colors? Or do you say this is a high-class event and we want the best painted armies on the tables, and there need to be weathering and 5 coats of layering and airbrush works and freehands and stuff like this? You can say it. You are the host of the event. So I prefer rules of presentation. They are painted with at least an armor panel color, this mechanical skeleton color, and a armor trim color. This is the minimum requirement on our tournaments. And the other thing is, if you paint a Legio in a specific color, like I paint a Legio Furion or Defensor, I play them with those rule sets. There are no yellow titans with black flames that are played as Legio Mortis, or maybe some loyal Legio that I don't can get my head around right now. So this is the thing of these rules of presentation. But there is another thing. If you want to spread your event with a, let us call, media team that get pics for Instagram, or make capture video footage for some later review. It is after the event, a later review of the event, or you want maybe get some live streams of your top tables from the event, then maybe you prefer to get high quality painted miniatures, but this is a bit restrictive to the newer players, so it is a double-edged sword. But this media team is a good thing to talk about after the rules of presentation. Before we go to this, the rules of presentation, keep in mind that there is something like wysiwyg, what you see is what you get. And do you want to enforce this? Is a Gatling blaster on a Reaver Titan possibly a melter gun? I don't think so, but I think there are third company parts that could be used as things. I would be okay if a Reaver Titan got a plasma blast gun on the carapace and the player says, yes, this is a plasma blast gun piece, but it's an Volkite weapon. The structure of the weapon is kind of similar, so I think it's okay to play things like this. That is something that you need to decide with your player base. If you want to get a media team out, keep in mind there need to be at least 2 or 3 people that only got this rule at your event. Role at your event, and you as an orga or part of the orga team don't mess with their things. They do their things and you do your things, and it is a good tournament or a gaming event at least. So then there is the thing, are there prizes and honorations? Keep in mind, if you want to get some trophies out, that you get this one on the entry fee, that you don't got minus in your pocket at least, but I think first, second, third place on a tournament event would be very nice, and maybe on a narrative event there are some honor declarations in a paper form or something like a scroll that is wrapped with a seal or something like this, that the players took part in this game. So this is the things that I want to talk about. Gaming events, not promotional, and there are supporters and merchants events, just the gaming events. And you can write down in the comment section if I missed something, or if you want to give some other guidance, and all the viewers can just write down in the comments and discuss around. Keep it civil and everything is fine. So this is my take on how to run a tournament, a narrative, or a gaming event rather, and this is all I got to say. Next up you see recommended videos and our kindly Patreon list, and we see us in the next video. I'm Dizzy from Team Titanicon, out for today. Keep on wargaming and praise the Omnissiah.